Earth Debate live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, how dare you? And be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and X. Now we are joined by, wow, a whole bunch of you in here. Neil, Eli, Sensual, Click OK, Arthur, One Deck, and a whole bunch of people in the Flat Earth Debate Discord server. So, welcome one and all.
How are you?
What's up? What's up?
Hello.
What's up? What's up? Is that like the Bud advert from our day, in our generation?
Nathan, me and you are actually not that far apart age-wise, so.
Yeah, I only asked because my wife was trying to explain 6-7 to me. This brain rot nonsense that kids say. And I'm like, what is this 6-7 thing? And she's like, it's a bit like us going, what's up? It's kind of a similar sort of thing, but for the kids of today. I'm like, okay. So I went and asked my eldest daughter, I'm like, what's it mean? She's like, it doesn't mean anything. It's just 6-7. And then she did like I'll do it on camera like this. 6-7. I'm like, okay, what the hell does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. So that's why I asked if it was like the
means you're
thing.
cool.
Means you're cool? Using the lingo. Fair enough. I mean, to me, it just sounds like brain rot nonsense. Speaking of brain rot, I don't want to necessarily piss Eric Debay off. However, in the most recent days, we've been talking about, and I'm going to take this from Neil in terms of his sentiment, right? My general sentiment is all roads lead back to a flat Earth. That's to say, if you're talking about any Earth measurement, eventually you'll realise that the origin of that measurement, probably a calculation, is actually, in reality, a flat Earth measurement. Hence, all roads lead to a flat Earth. Makes sense, right? Neil pointed out that all conspiracies lead to flat Earth. In other words, if you're on a conspiratorial tip, there's a good chance that you'll be brought to the subject of flat Earth, so you can spew your nonsense conspiratorial subject matter into this arena of flat Earth that is predominantly, now in present tense, about measurements. How is Earth measured? Well, it's measured flat. So what can we do to avoid this fact, given that all measurements of Earth are flat, even if you want to utilise those flat Earth measurements to believe you're on a ball? Well, what you need to do is make the people who talk about flat Earth seem like complete idiots. And how's the best way of doing that? Well, gather up people who are talking about conspiratorial subject matters and then give them flat Earth in the auto-suggestions algorithmically, and then they'll be the ones talking about flat Earth, presumably with very little information to actually go alongside it. Now, for every rule, there's an exception. And that exception today comes in the form of Eric Debay. Now, Eric Debay's most recent video in the last 24 hours was about 9/11. Now, to his credit, he was exceptionally well researched in the subject. Now, having looked at 9/11 truth for the last 10 years, I can say that hand on heart. That is to say, all of the information that he's presenting in that video is something that you can look up and check and verify as being accurate. Now, it's kind of contradictory because he's suggesting it's an inside job, but then pointing out how the inside job was informed, or the government of the time was informed by other governments, which is kind of contradictory to say, well, if it's an inside job, why did they ignore the tip-offs, let's call them, that they got from other people? You're like, well, these two things are incongruent with one another. Now, maybe that's the point of his video. My point is, why bother talking about it when we've got measurements that we can go by in terms of flat Earth? Now, for the most part, most people who do this, let's talk about 9/11, Sandy Hook, clone centers, Mandela effect, they're going to be doing an absolutely god-awful job of talking about it. They're not going to be giving you information that's verifiable like Eric DeBay's done. So in the pre-show, we were discussing this, and I was saying maybe we shouldn't necessarily cover it. Now, Neil's attitude was absolutely point out that it doesn't necessarily look great on us because most people aren't going to do a great job like Eric DeBay has done in regards to revealing some of the inconsistencies and dodgy scenarios around the subject of 9/11 truth. Me, I just think 9/11 truth has got nothing to do with flat Earth, and Eric DeBay is considered a flat earther first and foremost. Therefore, it's not necessarily going to serve his interests as a flat earther to talk about 9/11 regardless of how well researched he is. Now, in the last couple of months, I actually joined Eric DeBay's Patreon at the very minimum, lowest possible level that you can be. So I wanted to reach out and say, look, I do support you in what you do, and I don't necessarily want to piss this guy off by saying, look, you're wrong to do that. He can do whatever the hell he likes. It's just most people who come to the subject of flat Earth don't necessarily know what we know after 10 years, 11 years, whatever it is, of doing the subject, to the point where we can concisely summarise how Earth is measured flat, why it's measured flat, who's measuring it flat, etc., etc. When you talk about, I don't know, let's pick something different, Mandela effect, you might be very well versed in that conspiracy, but all you're doing is making yourself sound like a crackpot when you then talk about flat Earth after. That's my opinion. You don't have to like it. Anybody disagree? Different example was in a live stream that I was watching yesterday. I'm not going to name any names, and I know these people are in my audience, so again, I don't want to annoy them. But whilst watching a video on a crime subject matter, somebody in the chat, again, another viewer of this show, who I don't necessarily want to tick off, shared a link to somebody suggesting that there are Dracs. Now, I can only assume that Drax is shortened version of Draculas, and the suggestion was that these people can make their bodies lighter than air or something like that so that they can levitate. And then I saw a whole string of people who are utilising magic tricks. Now, having been trained, literally trained in this particular type of performance in a performing arts course, which is what I did at college, I spotted the tricks instantly because I know they're done. I've done some of them. So you're like, well, this is garbage. Why would you suggest that these people are actually levitating? You know, show me somebody who's not attached to a wall, not touching the ground with a stick. Show me them levitating. And to be fair, in that video, there was one example of a kid in 144p quality that's like in the air and then on the ground in the mum's arms. And you're like, okay, that's easily edited into that with wire between the trees. Or, you know, there's multitudes of ways that you can do this. But to suggest that there's actually Draculas out there, again, is another perfect example of this is somebody who's going to be brought into the fold of flat Earth so they can find out Earth's flat and then start saying it's flat and then talk about how there's Draculas and clones and Mandela effect, 9/11 truth, all the sorts of things I'm moaning about or have been for the last couple of weeks, maybe longer. But when we've got a fact that we can peddle that is indisputable and used by our opponents, that is to say, our opponents require Earth to be flat. Whoops. Was accidental. I didn't mean to do that. There we go.
Goes back to that whole, why would they lie? It's one of the I hate that thing. Why would they lie? But when you realise, well, they can lie, you then think, well, what are they lying about?
Yeah, exactly.
Everything.
But that doesn't mean we have to cover everything. We're not a catch-all for the lies of society. And in terms of the measurements of Earth, when it comes to the debate, which there is not, of flat Earth, everybody's measuring Earth flat. Our opponents cannot disagree with us. And the only reason we're ushered into this subject from conspiracy is so that, hopefully, we won't point out that all of the measurements from both our and our opponent's side are flat. We'll just utilise the flat measurements to argue how bloody far curve should be. Like, we're flat earthers. Why are we arguing about how far curves should be in curve calculators that utilise flat earth measurements? Distance, height off sea level, perpendiculars, parallel eye level. All of these things require Earth be measured flat. And yet we're just going to, punch these numbers into the Earth curve calculator and then argue about how far a distance to geometric horizon is. It's like, we're first measuring Earth flat and then arguing about Earth curve. I remember Anthony Riley coming to me and telling me about this, going, well, we're supposed to be arguing about how far Earth curve should or shouldn't be with this calculator. I'm like, what calculator? And he showed me, and I can't remember who he told me informed him of this, but he was informed, Anthony Riley, that we should argue about flat Earth with an Earth curve calculator. Now, dutifully, in my ignorance, that's exactly what I did. Punched in flat Earth numbers into a curve calculator and argued about how far we should or shouldn't see. Looking back on it, I feel absolutely stupid for doing so. You don't know what you don't know. And like I say, that's why we are, in my opinion, brought into the fold of flat Earth from the arenas. For me, it was subliminal messaging and psychopathy. For Anthony, it was pyramids and things like that. History hoax from memory. There's, everyone's got a conspiratorial path into this subject. There we go. If you're out there listening, Eric Debate, sorry, it's you that's ended up being the example of this. Because your information's all right. There's nothing that I would criticise about the information itself, other than next man can come along and go, so you think 9/11 was an inside job? Wow, what a crackpot. Doesn't matter how good your information is. But if someone comes along and say, wow, you think Earth's measured flat? Well, no, I don't think it. It is.
And that's the beauty of it. They could never turn around and call you a crackpot for that.
Yeah, what are you going to do? Deny your own measurements? So yeah, that's it. Hopefully I don't tick off the people who know I'm talking about them, because I haven't mentioned them by name. But why? Why leave yourself open to be ridiculed? If you understand Earth's measured flat, and you've got a different subject to cover, then just cover your different subject. But if you've got an exemplary understanding of flat Earth and you want to cover that, just cover that. Don't incorporate it in clone centers or Mandela effect or chemtrails or whatever. So yeah, when I got here, it was Jesse Spots talking about clone centers and Mandela effect. And I remember challenging, going, this is nonsense. What are you babbling about?
Well, if you think about it, Nathan, they're doing it because they're trying to show people that, look how they lied to us. Look at all of these other things. So, of course, they lied to us about the nature of where we live. But they don't need to do that. We know how it's measured. They know how it's measured. Need to get off the conspiracy bandwagon and just stick to the proof that we have. Measurements.
Yeah. The same measurements everybody's using always and without exception. The only attempt to get around these facts is to defy axioms. No. Sea level, having no part higher or lower than another, measured by way of average and utilised the world over to determine the heights of hills and the depths of valleys with respect to said measured level. That's sea level. What's that? Level curves? No. A curve would be a deviation from horizontal. Like the antithesis of level. But you want to tell me that this axiomatic principle of level isn't level? Well, then that's stupid. And I'm not the one sounding like an idiot when I say level bends. Because that's what you've got to do if you're a globe believer. Why? Well, because you're requiring surface level, sea level, flight level, eye level. These are all axioms that are used in measuring Earth. There's no getting away from it.
Exactly, Nathan. So we're reaching out to all these other flat earth content creators to embrace it. because when you embrace the measurements, they can't do a darn thing about it.
Jomo in the chat says, Nathan remembers so many old school flat earthers. Well, Jesse Spots was the first person I came across. And he immediately irritated me because he was spewing nonsense about clone centres and Taylor Swift being a clone. And I remember hearing this, and he had a couple of things he was talking about that you're like, I think from memory, my actual flat earth lead into him was him talking about Earth being flat and having a dome above it that created rainbows. You're like, oh, this might be interesting. And in the same video, he's like, Mandela effect's changing our timeline and Taylor Swift's a clone. You're like, what? What the bloody hell is this nonsense waffle that I've got to listen to now I'm in this subject matter? Suddenly I'm surrounded by crackheads and idiots. Why? Why have I found myself here? That's annoying. So yeah, I immediately started popping off at Jesse Spots for being crazy, because that's how he sounded to me.
Whatever happened to him?
I don't know. I have no idea what happened to Jesse Spots. It's 10 years ago.
Hmm.
Well, you know, you never hear people sort of like say about David Icke, you know, talking about lizards and things that, you know, typical globe believer.
That was Morgile. That's how I came across Morgile. I'm sorry, Morgile, if you're watching this, but you know what you did. You were talking about lizard people, weren't you? And then you came to Flat Earth. Now, that's unfortunate, but that's how he made his way into this subject. Now, that I can almost forgive if you then disavow your nonsense waffle about lizard people, which, for the most part, Morgile did, right? The way he got taken advantage of was he was stuck in heliocentric outer space the entire time, explaining how orbital motions don't function correctly and how they don't match with the observations from a prerequisite position of space being real, and then trying to unpack it from the mathematical inconsistencies that it has to offer when compared to observations of the sky. Like, we've got all of these tracked lights measured from a flat plane with angles. So there's no need to argue about how heliocentrism doesn't work in the same way I say we don't need to argue about how Earth curve doesn't work, when to suggest there's Earth curve, you need to measure Earth flat first, from surface level, with eye level, perpendicular, all axiomatically requiring a flat plane of reference to be measured to make these assertions. Same with elevation angle measurements of the stars tracked for the last, 1,000, 2,000 years, if we're to believe the mainstream narrative. It's like, well, if we're to believe their narrative, they've tracked these lights off a flat Earth. That's the end of the discussion if the measurements are flat. Not, oh, well, we've measured it flat, but we'll then convert this flat circle with a flat radii into sphericity that we can put in orbital motion when we bifurcate a spherical Earth that's a glorified protractor. It's like, no. You've measured Earth flat to achieve that orbital motion. Why would I lean into anything beyond the flat measurement that it started with?
The only, I mean, I'm not going into it. The only thing that sort of does sort of get you thinking, and it does, doesn't it? The Antarctic Treaty, you know, and then that starts you thinking other things then. If, you know, for this, you know, we can only go so far, only certain people can go to this place, and it's an agreement between all these countries. You start thinking, well, why is that? So that you do start then thinking about that. Well, what is the land out there? This is where your mind naturally goes, I think, sometimes, especially with that. You know, I don't know about lizard people and all that, but with that one particularly, that could get you thinking about quite a few things.
I don't know.
Yeah, like, are there any guns in Antarctica?
Well, there are if you're not supposed to be there. I mean, where are the guns is a red herring away from the flat Earth prerequisite elevation angle measurements that were being made by all of the participants of the final experiment. Now, they're not doing an experiment. They're providing a cognitive shortcut to people who don't understand what's being measured, utilised and demonstrated in their use of an equatorial plane and angle measurements to the sun for a 24-hour period. Unless, of course, you're fugly Dave McKeegan and then you can't cope with your own tripod. But other than that, the rest of the participants measured Earth flat for a 24-hour period, including but not limited to McToon. Well, McToon called us here, like we are now, live, to tell me that there's no guns there, while I point out for the 100th time that they're measuring Earth flat there. You know, their deflection to guns was overcome, 6 months later when somebody tried to land on Antarctica and was quickly escorted away at gunpoint by the Chilean government.
Well, that can't have happened because Ranty asserts that he tried to get into this live stream and we won't let him in.
Yeah, I saw his thumbnail. His thumbnail suggested that I was too scared to debate him, as opposed to he didn't manage to get in voice verification in time for yesterday's live show. I mean, you've got to lie if you're anti, I guess. Lie about me being scared of debating people on an open panel when you haven't been voice verified. What are you going to do? I only found that out in the pre-show. I don't really care. But no, everybody's welcome. You just have to be voice verified.
You can't really debate about a measurement, can you?
I don't know what he wants to debate about. He's welcome, though, if he wants to debate.
I enjoyed that Alan Watts video you posted, Nathan. It really hit home with, the way these people are behaving or not accepting factual measurements and, things like level being level and horizontal being horizontal. I think it really wraps it up really, really well. Fantastic.
I don't mind covering that. Do you want to cover that?
Yeah, I think it's a really good. There's some really good points in it, and the way he words a lot of things. I mean, I suppose we can all, and especially you, can relate to that exact what's going on at the moment. I really felt it.
Okay, we need lots of commentary, though, because I don't know the videographer. I will share this guy's link. I think he's just taking material and getting an AI voiceover. There's several of these types of channels. This one's called, I think it's called Alan Watts Weekly or something like that. Alan Watts Daily Wisdom, right? And like I say, there's several other channels that do the exact same thing. They just take Alan Watts's work, get a AI voice generator to read it out, and then put some screenshots in the background that are appropriate. So it's obviously, this isn't Alan Watts's channel, obviously, but shout out to you for producing this material, because I have enjoyed watching a lot of the videos that's on this channel, and I will share your link, and hopefully it makes you grow. I doubt he's going to be the type of person that would ever do a response to us, but yeah, I'm happy to cover this because it is interesting.
The curious thing about human beings, we keep trying to explain ourselves to those who have no intention of understanding.
Sound familiar?
Not because they don't
Hell yeah.
want to hear us, but because they can't.
Can't hear us, huh? Testing. Can you hear me out there? Can I get a voice verification in the live stream chat? Can you all hear us?
They're watching a different movie altogether. And here you are, standing outside the theater, trying to explain the plot of your film to someone who's still convinced they're watching theirs.
So for context, obviously our film is Earth's measured flat, because Earth's measured flat. Their film is Earth's a ball. Don't mention the flat measurements. Very different film.
It's exhausting, isn't it? This constant need to justify, to clarify, to make people understand. But what if I told you that the very act of explaining yourself to certain people is like trying to describe color to someone who's determined to see only in black and white?
Could have used me as an example. I'm actually colourblind, so most people try and explain colour to me. My kids do it all the time, much to my irritation. Well, what does this colour look like, Daddy? I can't tell you what I see that colour as, because I've got no frame of reference to describe the difference between my vision and your vision. I can't suddenly pop in a set of colour eyeballs to give you a comparison to describe what you're asking me, right? But that's not what this person means. They're saying, in the movie example, a better analogy, right? You're trying to explain the movie that they're not watching to them while they're sat with their popcorn watching a completely different movie. Now, their movie is the movie of a ball Earth. Our movie is the movies based on this set design and this director, and they're all measuring Earth flat. They're like, I don't want to hear it. I'm trying to enjoy the movie. I like watching Superman fly around a globe, so shut up. That's their attitude towards us.
We've been taught that communication is the answer to everything. That if we could just find the right words, the perfect explanation, then surely people would understand.
This is where I disagree. So for us, there is no need to explain anything. You're using flat Earth measurements. I'm using flat Earth measurements. We, collectively, all of us, are using flat Earth measurements. You, watching your ball movie, can either accept that fact or not. But fact it is, whether you accept it or not, and it won't ever change how Earth gets measured. So from that point of view, this doesn't necessarily match up with what we are experiencing and what we're trying to explain to people. When we say, you're measuring Earth flat when you use sea level, now their movie says, no, sea level defies an axiom, it's actually bending. That's deviation from level. That's what they say, because they're delusional. Our opponents, that is.
But the truth is far more interesting than that.
And far more simple.
Some people are so caught up in their own mental constructions,
That'd be a globe.
so hypnotized by their own interpretations of reality,
Yeah, their interpretation of flat measurements is that it's globe-shaped.
that your words become nothing more than noise.
Yeah, we say Earth's measured flat. They hear, la, 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 I'm not listening.
And the harder you try to break through, the more energy you lose.
Yeah, I've given up on that now. I mean, I'll talk to my audience about how Earth's measured flat, but trying to communicate to some numpty clown, proactively, that is to say, I'm not going to MC Toon's channel and telling him, you do realise you measure Earth flat. Because what's the point? Waste of breath.
It's like shouting into a wind tunnel. The sound goes out, but it never reaches its destination. So let me ask you something. How much of your
You're
life
right
have
there,
you wasted?
Nathan. That's the way I see it at the moment. I mean, but I have back in the day, when I first got into this arena and flat, knowing the Earth's flat, took it up myself to try and drum this into people, and spend a lot of time and energy and thinking, why can't you? You need to understand what I'm saying. And the people I was talking to couldn't understand what I was saying because they're in a different film. You can't understand it, can you? Why are they not? And we're still doing it now. We're not getting as stressed out about it now or arguing as much because we know it's measured flat. But you're still trying to point that out, and we still make comments on the shows this week, last week. Like, why can't you see that line that you've just drew on the ground and the posted in the ground is, we're talking about the ground and it's horizontal. The guy, then it's not the ground. If you just can't get the message across to some people. But what he's saying is, you don't have to do this. It's just draining you. And I think we've come to that conclusion when we've spoke about changing the video sort of narrative. And I think it all ties in with this. Like, what we're wasting our energy on these fools for?
Yeah, I completely agree. It's like, well, if we're leaning into people who suggest that Earth isn't measured flat, only to then utilise the flat Earth measurements and defy axioms with them, why waste your breath? Like, you're more than happy to deny an axiomatic principle of measurement in order to retain your globe belief and justify how level is curved. It's like, well, why do you need level to be curved? Because you still require level as Earth is measured. Now, obviously, if Earth was a sphere, you'd just measure it spherical. You wouldn't need to say, well, spherical's actually level. Like, why would you need to do that? Well, the reason they need to do that is because Earth does actually get measured as a level plane. So therefore, their belief in defiance of the measurements needs adjustment, apologetics, and they need to project their disheartened feeling onto us by way of arguing with us. And what, in this case, Alan Watts is saying, it is Alan Watts, isn't it? Yeah. He's saying, well, why waste your breath? Like, it is what it is. You don't have to like it. Why proactively go after these people to tell them? They're just going to drain your energy when they project their inability to understand basic measurements onto you by telling you that, no, the level that we definitely do need, because we're measuring Earth with that level, is not actually level. It's curved. It's like, well, why not just say Earth's curved, here's the measurement? Why say Earth is measured flat because flat's curving? Why do that? Seems stupid. It's a waste of our time.
Wasted trying to convince people who were
Sorry,
never
Nathan.
going to be.
I think it. Sorry, mate.
That's
It
all right.
just he'll get onto it in a minute, but he does come into. I think when he's explained, just to go on from that, he does. He gets into it soon. I think where he's suggesting that by them people continually arguing with you and wanting you to try and force the truth across to them, that's what keeps their illusion going. Yeah, that's what's feeding their illusion. The fact that you're arguing against it and it's feeding the. Whereas if you just let them believe what they want and be silent, they will lose that. They'll lose. I can't think what I was saying, but I think you know what I'm on about.
I know what you're driving at. What you're saying is, in the process of arguing, it lends some credence to the fact that there is an argument to have. The minute you stop arguing with them, the person who you're arguing with has to either accept their own misinterpretation of the rhetoric that they're abusing, or not. But if you're arguing with them, well, then there's an argument. I've said this to Conspiracy Cats when he came and commented on how absolutely fantastic the ending of my book would be. To quote him, he said, "There isn't enough popcorn in the world." Thank you for the vote of confidence, by the way, Conspiracy Cats. Really appreciate it. But my sentiment to him was, why are you clutching at straws? Is it so you can still retain the idea that there is an argument? Because his original poke was to say, are you not even pretending there's a debate anymore? I'm like, there isn't a debate anymore. You're clutching at straws for?
Convinced. How many times have you repeated yourself, rephrased yourself, exhausted yourself? All in the hope that this time they'll finally get it.
Yeah, and why do we care? We're throwing pearls to swine. Who cares if they get it? Do we give a crap that you understand how you are measuring Earth flat like we are measuring Earth flat and Earth is measured flat by everyone always and without exception? What, you don't understand that? It's curved. The level that we require to measure. No, it isn't. But why are we wasting our time trying to explain this to you? I see it as pointless. Now, we can explain it, I can explain it to my audience, and people can come along and watch. But I've completely given up on proactively going out after these people, and even reactively dealing with their videos, I think is a waste of time now. Now, there's going to be people in the comments
Okay,
that say,
that's...
no. Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt you there. Sorry to interrupt you there, Nathan, but I'm slightly of a different opinion, whereby where I go off to other servers. Now, I know the people I'm going to meet, they've got they're adamant that it's a globe, but I'm trying to reach those who are listening in the YouTube live stream. So I create this situation where this is the flat earthers viewpoint and this is the globers viewpoint, and it's up to you, ladies and gentlemen, in the jury, the live stream, you make your mind up. That's what I try and do. So, I'm always prepared to go through it, and I never run out of energy doing that, because I do feel that I'm doing a service. I already know the environment I'm in, and they're adamant that it's a globe, and that's that. And whatever you tell them,
I
they're
know
not
the
going to believe.
environment
But
you're
I'm
in,
just-
and you're not in G+. You're in Discord, Jim.
Yeah, sorry. My mistake there.
Did you get the link today?
Hold on, Neil. Just one sec. The way you phrased it was interesting, Jin. You said the jury is out. This isn't a court case, though, is it? There isn't a disputable fact on the table for a difference in opinion to be formed between a jury. That is to say, I can't present a flat earth measurement of horizontal and then say, you of the jury need to decide if this is horizontal. No, it just is. There's no disputing this fact, is there?
Yeah, no, it's not exactly. I do put that across that it is a fact, but it's for them to decide for themselves. They have to at the end of the day.
I don't know.
The fact is, water is always level, and hopefully they'll associate and get that correct in their mind.
Jim, you
carry on anyway.
Jim, you've just repeated the exact same thing. No, it is not for you to decide. In fact, should you decide that it is for you to decide, will not in any way, shape or form alter the measurements of Earth. How you perceive them, again, won't change the measurements of Earth. If you decide that they're wrong or that actually the level's curving, that won't change the measurements of Earth. ever. So it is literally
Correct.
inconsequential whether or not anybody forms an opinion on it, decides that it's wrong. How will that in any way change how Earth is measured? And the answer is it won't. So you can keep your opinion, you can decide as a jury that it's wrong, but it'll still be the way Earth gets measured, flat in all circumstances, regardless of anybody's opinion.
Yeah, there's no
That is
deciding.
exactly
There's no
what I meant by
decision
that.
on 2 plus 2.
Hold on, Neil, I'm
2
talking
plus
to
2 is
Jin.
4.
Can you hear me talking to Jin?
No, thanks, Neil.
I didn't
That's
know it was a
correct.
private
Yeah, no.
conversation. Excuse me.
It's not a private conversation. I just
Yeah.
don't want it to be audio chaos.
Yeah, no. Anyway, what you've stated, Nathan, is I do agree with that. That's my sentiment. So when I say for them, it's up to them to decide. If it's up to them to decide whether or not they're going to accept the truth, is what I'm saying. Isn't it?
Better
Obviously.
phrasing. Whether or not they accept the truth,
Yeah.
that's a different phraseology.
Yeah.
That I can get behind.
Yeah.
Whether or not you decide to accept
Yeah.
the facts in this matter is up to you. You can decide to disavow the facts and say, I don't accept that Earth is measured flat exactly as it's measured. I don't like that. Well, you don't have to like it. You don't have to accept it. It is measured flat regardless of if you accept it or not. Your opinion on the matter is inconsequential to the facts, though.
Can I just say something, Nathan? And
Neil
Jim?
can. Then hold on.
I think
Neil first. Go ahead, Neil.
No, he clarified it. He's all right.
Yeah, I agree. He rephrased his position into they can decide if they want to accept the facts or not. That's different. Yeah, you can decide that you don't want to accept the facts. That's what we call the hard place. That is to say, I don't want to accept that Earth is measured flat. Well, then you don't have any measurements because all the measurements are flat. So if you don't accept the measurements and their flatness, what are you going to rely on? Because those are all the measurements. So what are you going to use? Nothing. Oh, you do want to use the flat Earth measurements. You just prefer we didn't point them out until after we've whistled past them. And then you can refer to how globe-shaped the ground is that you just measured flat without anybody recognising how flat we had to measure it first. Well, we still measured it flat, though, didn't we? You did, I did, anybody who measured Earth will always and can only measure it flat. So it makes no difference to me if you accept that fact or not. It's still how Earth gets measured. Unless you want to disavow the measurements, and then you've got no measurements anymore. Hard place, as we call it. The rock being an acceptance of how Earth is measured, always and without exception. Go ahead, Wandek.
I think I was sort of saying the same thing in a different way. I understand what Jin's saying, but then once you get to the point, like the other day, for example, and you have already said, Nathan, maybe you should have said this, said that you did sort of fly up on with a guy who, after seeing the stick in the ground, understanding an hour talk from yourself about elevation angles and definitions of elevation angles, came in and just, was just disregarding everything, all the facts and evidence that was put in front of him. Now, at that point, what Alan Watts is saying, I think, is, you can only go so far. And maybe we should have asked him 2 or 3 questions about, can you see the stick? Where is it planted? It's planted in the ground. Is the line horizontal or curved? Once he starts denying them axiomatic principles, as you say, then with a quick 3 or 4 questions without getting high rate, then it's obvious he's made his mind up that he wants to stay in the illusion that he's in. So let him stay in the illusion. Bye-bye.
And what happened? They twisted your words. They heard what they wanted to hear.
We say we measure the Earth flat. Here's an example of it being measured flat. There's a shadow on the flat ground for a flat triangle for trig. What's that? It's not the ground. That's kind of like twisting my words into something that changes the axiomatic measurement of Earth. No, it doesn't. It's still measured flat, regardless of somebody saying it's not the ground.
They made you the villain in their story, no matter how carefully you explained yourself. This is not an accident. This is not a failure of communication. This is a collision between 2 entirely different states of consciousness. Now, before we go any further, let me be clear about something. I'm not talking about healthy disagreement. I'm not...
Yeah, I completely agree. This is not about healthy disagreement. What are you going to disagree with? Earth being measured flat? Well, then you've got no measurements. You don't get to disagree with it. I mean, you can suggest that there might be alternatives. For example, quote, We don't only measure Earth flat, end quote, Simon Dan, after measuring Earth flat 1,000 times with elevation angle measurements to the sun. You can suggest that there's an alternative. There isn't. We only measure Earth flat.
Talking about people who genuinely want to understand you but see things differently.
There's no seeing this differently. These are measurements. You know, seeing a flat measurement and then saying, no, that's curving, is idiotic. So there's no debate, there's no discussion, there's no seeing it differently. There's just measurements.
I'm talking about something else entirely. I'm talking about people who are living in a kind of trance, a self-created prison of beliefs and illusions.
Yeah, that sounds good. I like that. I can get right behind that.
Yeah.
You're in a illusion, like a prison for your mind. Like Morpheus tells Neo, that's what you're in, a prison, an illusion of being on a ball that you have to measure Earth flat to create. That's a prison that you're in. We have set ourselves free of these shackles by recognising how Earth gets measured. There's no debate or discussion. It's just flat Earth measurements. That's all we've got. But you, numpties on the ball side, are in a prison for your mind. Go ahead, one deck.
I've been calling it a psychological dilemma for some time now. That's what they're in, a psychological dilemma. But I really think once, the way Alan's explaining it, I can agree that it, although some of them might put this on, but it's something, they're in this illusion, and it doesn't matter what you say, which he's already gone through, how much energy you give them to try and show them the truth. Once they're in that illusion, only themselves can break free from it. You can't do it.
Yeah, it is fair to say that, as Nathan, as we all know, that the Earth is measured flat, and that's a fact, and it's not subject to their disapproval. Is that fair enough to say?
Those are some lyrics from a really good song called If Earth Was a Big Roast Chicken. Earth's a fact. Earth is flat, and that's a fact. You might not like that.
So solid that nothing you say can penetrate it. And the reason nothing penetrates is because they're not interested in truth. They're interested in being right. They're interested in protecting their version of reality, even...
Yeah, never a true word spoken. Yeah, they've invested heavily, mentally, into being right about Earth being a ball. Now, if you've heavily invested in something, it's going to be difficult to let go of it, bless you.
Even if that version bears no resemblance to what's actually happening.
What, like being on a curved level that we measure flat, but can justify how flat it isn't by saying flat isn't flat, it's actually curving? Yeah, that kind of nonsense waffle we deal with all day, don't we?
Yeah.
The moment you realize this, everything changes, because you stop taking it personally. You stop thinking there's something wrong with your words. You realize that the problem was never your explanation.
No, the problem's them. But they want to make it personal, don't they? Yeah? They want to claim I'm a child abuser. They want to claim that I'm a liar or a scammer. That's what they want to do. They want to make it all about us as individuals. Make it personal. Well, it's not personal. It's just Earth being measured flat in all circumstances. You don't have to make it about me or anybody on the panel personally. That's not necessary.
Yeah, but I never
that you're
felt like
speaking to
something
someone
wrong
who's
with
already
me.
decided what you mean.
Sorry, Neil, I accidentally double-clicked and it made the screen big. Go ahead.
I was saying I never felt that maybe I'm doing something wrong or something's wrong with me, so I don't agree with it there in this category.
I think what he means, Neil, is that once when somebody names you a flat earther, you obviously side with you're a bloody idiot. Like we've gone through with your conspiracy definition of what that happens there. So flat earthers are idiots. I think that's how to take what he's saying.
Go ahead, Chuck. Or Chuckles.
Yo,
Hello. Did you want to add something?
no, did I accidentally mic up?
Yeah, but that's okay. If you don't want to add anything, just pop yourself back on mute. Maybe you've got a phone call.
What you are and what you represent. And no amount of explaining will change that. It's like trying to reason with a dream. The dream doesn't care about your logic. It follows its own rules.
Yeah, we're not dealing with logic. It's not a logical consistency when we say Earth's measured flat. It's just a fact. It's just a measurement. It's not like we need to provide a modus tollens or modus ponens. If Earth's flat, we'll measure it flat. Earth's flat because we measure it flat. Why would we need to put a fact of measurement into a logical consistency? It's just not necessary. I mean, we can for the benefit of our audience, but it isn't actually necessary.
Let me tell you what happens when you try to explain yourself to someone trapped in illusion. First, you waste your energy. And I don't mean just a little bit of energy. I mean the kind of deep soul-level exhaustion that comes from fighting a battle that was rigged from the start.
Now, what we need to reflect upon as flat earthers is that mental expenditure isn't exclusive to us when we try and pitch our facts to an opponent that doesn't want to accept them. If we relinquish that that need that we feel compelled to engage in, this statement that he's just made, I'll play it again in a second, only applies to our opponent. That is to say, the draining lack of energy that you feel is only applicable to them after the fact. Maybe he says it afterwards, but I'm going to play that again so you can hear exactly what he says.
Your energy. And I don't mean just a little bit of energy. I mean the kind of deep soul-level exhaustion that comes from fighting a battle that was rigged from the start.
Yeah, that's them. Fighting a battle that's rigged. Yeah, rigged in our favour if you want to look at it as a win-lose situation and an opponent battle. Rigged in the favour of who's measuring Earth how. It's measured flat. So therefore, who's going to be expending the mental energy and exhaustion? Now, while he's describing it, Alan Watts is describing it as a mental exhaustion, I describe it as straight up pain. Their pain needs to be projected onto us with ad hominems and personal attacks. But it is
Hold
pain.
on.
Sorry, Neil, go on.
Wait, are you saying, hold on. Are you saying, like, I took rigged from the start, meaning it's rigged against us from the very start?
No.
But you're taking it the other way.
Yeah, I've said this all along. People just don't pick up on it. When I say Simon, Dan, Toon, Craig, they're all in the same pond as us. They're all fighting the same battle as us. They're the same. Now, just because it's algorithmically tipped in the favour of their side of the pond doesn't mean it's a different pond. It's the same pond. It's the same battle. It's the same argument. It's the same mental expenditure until you step back and go, I don't need to expend this energy. There's a reason the game's rigged. But the mental battle, the anguish and pain is felt by them. They need to project that pain onto us. There's a reason Conspiracy Cats is coming proactively to my channel to say things like, oh, you're not even pretending it's a debate anymore. No, I'm not pretending it's a debate anymore. It isn't a debate anymore. Quote, I'll give you a flat earth for that. End quote. Now, what is it about asking me what diffraction is that makes it seem necessary in the battle? Have some empathy. They're in a lot of pain, Neil. You don't need to absorb that pain. You don't need to reflect it either. But pain they are in, I absolutely assure you, because the battle is rigged against them. And once it's projected onto us. You don't need to absorb that projection. You don't need to take their mirror. Their reflection's irrelevant if you make it irrelevant.
No, I agree that the pain, they're the ones in pain, but I always thought this is rigged against us. Like, I mean, come on, look at, they got all conspiracies leading to flat earth. They're rigging it right there, right? But I see where you're coming from. The only thing we don't absorb is the pain and the anguish that they got.
Why would that be necessary? To make it perceived to be rigged against us? Because they need to use the measurements of Earth and they're all flat.
I mean,
you pour yourself out.
I think, sorry, mate. I think that is very, very true of late. I can personally, when he's talking about this energy draining, I felt that in the early days, like I explained before I knew what I know now, trying to find information out, trying to work out when they told me Eratosthenes was the proof of a globe Earth, and I was racking my brains out to try and rebut that. I didn't realise that he was actually measuring angle and keeping me. I have been in that situation, trying to, get my point across to these ballers, and it was very, very draining. No more, but I think the coin's flipped over now, like you say.
Yeah,
Trying to be understood.
In my case, sorry to interrupt you there.
Yeah, go ahead.
In my case, I've been very fortunate. I've had boundless energy, so I've never got tired of the debates with these globers. But what happened was when I learned about refraction, it knocked me back. I had to go and do some revision, and the Coriolis and the Foucault's pendulum, for example. These were the things that knocked me back. That I had to go and revise and review and research, and then come back and fight again. But I never run out of energy with these people. So I've been very lucky in that respect. Thank you.
And
Some
what you
over
get
here and
back,
that has just fist pumped the air.
Fist pump the air because Jin suggested that he has got boundless energy.
No, because Jim worried about refraction for a few months.
Sorry, can you talk amongst yourselves? Someone's at my door. Back in 2 seconds.
Yeah, it was for a few. You're right. For a few months, I had to go and work that out because I couldn't believe what I was hearing. That I'm not seeing what I'm seeing. What do you mean by that? And I tell you where it got me was when Anthony Riley was debating across the Isle of Man, and he was having a hard time of it in the Beyond the Imaginary Curve with the Scots guy. I forgot his name now. I do apologise for that. But yeah, and Anthony Riley was coming under fire, and I thought that's not right. I mean, what is this refraction? I have to go and check that out because when I see what I see, I don't believe it's being lifted up, from behind the curve. That's not true. So yeah, that did knock me back, of course, but I carried on. You know how it is.
Yep. Well, that's how deep their illusion is. I mean, their illusion keeps changing. It has to change as we keep pushing the facts and the truth upon them. Then they have to keep changing their story and the illusion to keep their illusion alive, the globe illusion. But I think this video is quite good because this is happening now. And like I said to Nathan, let's not keep delving into the Simon-Dans and triangles, McKeegan, and giving them and just shouting and screaming at the videos of them talking nonsense. I mean, I think the last few videos and a couple of weeks have been great because we've been over some really good context. Nathan was great yesterday in detailing, the equatorial plane and how that the pizza and how that is actually what they use for their globe Earth spinning around the sun. So, and when you explain all this in an educational way, I think it comes across far better and more professional.
Yeah, I would agree with you one, Dick. This particular video is looking at the psychologies of both groups. The group that has the truth, the flat earthers, versus the group, the globers, who are denying the truth, and the energies that are expelled from the flat earth. And the psychology of all that is very educational, and it's important because this is how they get you, through psychological manipulation. So if you're aware of all that, then you know how to get your case across without getting flustered. And as Nathan and you guys yourself are saying, it's flat, it's a fact, and there's no denying that fact. It's not subject to your disapproval. It's as simple as that.
confusion,
Yep.
accusations, more questions. It's a loop that never ends because the other person is not interested in understanding. They're interested in their own narrative. And you, my friend, are just a character in their story, a character they've already written. The ancient wisdom traditions understood this. They knew that not everyone is ready to hear the truth. Not everyone can handle it.
Yeah, not everyone can handle the truth of how flat we measure Earth. For some, it's very, very difficult. And you're just not ready for it.
I mean, I think that's true as well, Nathan. For not for people who might have been on the fence, and listen to a little bit of this, the facts of flat Earth, and realizing that this isn't a globe I'm living on. It possibly is flat. I'm going to look into this, but then by them doing that, they're going to then jump into a minority, and they know they're going to be ridiculed maybe, so they decide to just stay in the bubble where they are. And I think that's happened to a lot of people. They thought, bro, I'm not going to go there. I'm staying where I am, where I'm nice and safe and cozy with my globe blanket.
Some people need their illusions. They need them to survive. Take away their illusions, and they crumble. So they defend those illusions with everything they have.
Yeah, absolutely. Without their illusion of ball-shaped Earth, they crumble. It would be the end for them. Like, they'd fade into obscurity. Their heavy investment into the nonsense waffle of their religious belief, handed down from the Roman Catholic Church, would leave them in despair. So, they've got to create the impression that there's an argument to have and project their pain when measuring Earth flat onto us. So it seems like there is a discussion. Like I said, with conspiracy cats clutching at straws, saying, oh, you're not even pretending there's a debate anymore. No, there isn't one. Like, I'll give you a flat Earth for that. You wouldn't need to if you were measuring it curved shaped, but you're not. You're measuring it flat. And we all do that. So if you can clutch at the straws that there's still a debate to have, you can feel what better about your religious belief that you've plumbed a lot of time and effort into? Yeah, you can. But we're not going to give you that entertainment or energy anymore. Why bother?
Let me
They'll
interrupt
twist
the
your will.
proceedings for 1 second. Hold on. Ranty, you're in chat. I told you how to debate. You go to the Discord server. There'll be people ready to voice verify you. So stop with your nonsense in chat.
Nonsense in chat. What's he saying?
Also,
Oh, who cares?
Words attack your
Also-
character.
Also,
Just a second, Nick.
Nathan.
Yes.
Sorry,
I
just a
said
quick.
first.
Oh, is it me?
Yeah, go ahead, Wandek.
Just a quickie. Yeah, they're terrified of losing the globe, but not only that, and I think we've discussed this, more than that, once they lose the globe, they'll lose space, won't they? And I think some of them are more terrified than losing the space illusion than actually losing the globe.
I think it's more
But
to
once
it
you
than
lose
that.
the globe,
I think it's worse than that. So my assessment is that if you're on a globe, then you exist as a speck of dust in an ever-expanding, infinite soup of nothingness. Therefore, your actions are pretty inconsequential. You don't have to look yourself in the mirror if you're a bad person. You don't have to face your own demons if you're not that significant in life. You can take a certain nihilistic approach to Earth and therefore your own life if you're on a ball. However, if the antithesis is true, and it is, that we're in a contained system and therefore our place here is far more significant than the heliocentric suggestion would first allude to, then there's a terrible, awful truth that you might have to look yourself in the mirror, go through your own closet and look at the skeletons therein. And that terrifies people. People are scared.
Because there's a creator.
Well, you can lead in with that being the judgment aspect of having to assess your own skeletons in your own closet. So yeah, I mean, in one way you can describe it in that way. But like I say, the antithesis is their worldview where you're just a speck of dust. Therefore, any cruelty, any shitty behaviour basically that you've exercised throughout your life can be kind of ignored. Who cares? It doesn't matter. I'm just an insignificant speck of dust in a massive expanding soup of nothingness. Who cares? I'm a tiny little dot on this tiny little blue ball moving around the sun. When we come along and go, well, to believe you're on a blue ball moving around the sun, you've got to first measure Earth flat. To believe that you've got a sky vacuum, you've got to derive orbital motion from flat Earth measurements. To believe there's an ever-expanding sky vacuum, you've got to ignore laws of nature like the second law of thermodynamics. That's not good if you've ignored all of the skeletons in your own closet and your own shitty behaviour for ages. You can brush it all under the rug if you're just insignificant, right?
Just a quickie, Nathan, on that. That was perfect. But also, it was just in my mind then, over the last few shows, and what this Alan Watts is talking about, that you haven't personally been going out, like you say, to these videos of Simon Dan and triangles. You've not been giving him that energy, right? So you've had a response of Simon Dan lying about you, so he's reacting. You're not feeding him anything. He's useless now. So he wants your energy. We had it the other day, and I did say it at the time. Someone was triggered the other day on the PhD video because it was talking truth and showing factual information. Somebody had to jump in and try and disturb that. And it seems like it's happening today. I don't know who Ranty is, by the way. It seems like it's happening today and yesterday, where there's someone called Ranty maybe watching this video, and some home truths are sort of kicking in.
I mean, I just want to thank everybody in my audience for giving me their energy, because, you know, expending energy on this show is something that does, well, obviously take up your energy and time and effort, and I really appreciate you all being here. Thank you so much for attending and supporting me. You're all just fantastic. I love all of you from the chat. Brilliant guys, all of you, gals and girls. Thank you so much for being here. For little old me. Your support has definitely been noted, and I thank all of you.
And if
Isn't
you're
it
still
ironic
trying
as
to
well
explain...
Sorry, go ahead.
You was complaining earlier about people talking about vampires being real, but yeah, we have actual metaphorical vampires, and the subject sucking the energy out of us with their nonsense, like Ranty.
I don't know if he's sucking any energy. He's expelling energy on this show. Well, thank you. I've just thanked my entire audience for being here. Thank you so much for supporting me. I won't be over on your channels. Sorry. I've got better things to do. No offence. There's a select few people that will go over and have me there giving them my energy. My energy is much more valuable. No offence to anybody who feels that I should be over on your channels giving you my energy. I'm not going to.
Yeah, so Nathan, so if somebody comes in and they say, listen, I wasted 20 minutes and I couldn't get in, and then the person says, okay, maybe there was a problem. Somebody's waiting there right now, though, to let you in, right? You say, okay, and give it a shot, right? Well, he comes back with, yeah, waste my time again. So I don't even believe he was ever there, because they told me they would have got a ping saying that somebody was trying to get voice verified and somebody would have been there to let him in. So he's just a liar and a time waster.
Thing is, Neil, this type of person, like on this the clip that we're watching, wants to come in. So we spend an hour going over how horizontal is horizontal, level is level, sea level is sea level, and telling them what an elevation angle is. And you can't obtain an elevation angle from a slightly curved surface. That's because that keeps their illusion alive then. That's what's being said on this clip. That's what we're not feeding their illusion.
I mean, in the pre-show, we were talking about my irritation with people who spout complete nonsense when they arrive at the subject of flat Earth. Well, the individual you're referring to in the chat did the same thing and got the sharp end of my tongue for it, alleging that he'd been burnt by chemtrails. Now, this is the reason why he'll be an outcast in his own globe Earth rhetoric arena and our arena. They just alone. I mean, unless you're watching somebody with your...
yourself to them, you're actually helping them maintain the illusion.
There again.
Burnt by chemtrails?
Yeah.
Well, you've got to be a spastic to think that.
Yeah, I agree.
Because every time you engage, you give them something to resist.
That's what we're doing now, by the way. We're engaging with this guy in chat, just so you know.
You give them a reason to dig in deeper. There's a story I once heard about a man who spent his entire life trying to convince his neighbor
that he was burnt by chemtrails.
The sky was blue. The neighbor insisted it was green. So the man brought diagrams, photographs, scientific explanations. He even brought other people to confirm that, yes, the sky is blue. But the neighbor wouldn't budge.
Yeah, this is exactly what we deal with. Look, it's measured flat. Look, here's a measurement from your own rhetoric. Here's Eratosthenes measuring Earth flat. Here's Al-Biruni measuring Earth flat. Here's Simon Dan measuring Earth flat. Here's Dave McKeegan measuring Earth flat for 24 hours. But for the fact he's too stupid to use his own tripod. And what do? They tell you the sky's green.
Nathan, what did you say earlier on the pre-show? You were saying that he probably wants to come in and not debate, but talk about the book. You were right on point.
Yeah, Ranty's very predictable.
It's green. And one day, exhausted and defeated, the man gave up.
But I would like him to buy it. I mean, I'm not going to be so dismissive of these people that I don't want to, confess that I do actually want something out of them. When my book's released, definitely go and buy a copy. I mean, you might even get a mention. I mean, what a wonderful anecdote, being burnt by chemtrails. Perfect example of numpty idiocy that I can link back to how all conspiratard roads lead to flat Earth. I mean, sometimes they lead back off it again, so you can be ridiculed by both sides. It must be a very lonely life. But nevertheless, that's a perfect example.
He stopped trying to convince his neighbor. He stopped talking about the sky altogether. And
yeah, I'm not going to try and convince these people anymore. It just is measured flat. Why bother expelling energy, proactively going to their channels to try and tell them that? Or reactively dealing with their videos? What's the point? Like, if they want to believe that the sky is green, let them.
And you know what happened? The neighbor became furious. Because
once you stop engaging with them, there's no more debate. That's what I was trying to point out to Conspiracy Cats in my comments when he's proactively trying to engage with me. Saying, what, you're not even pretending there's a debate anymore? Yeah, you're clutching at straws. So long as there's a debate, you can believe that you might be right on the side of truth in the debate. But if there isn't a debate, there's just facts about Earth measurements, what have you got to clutch at? Nothing. That's what you've got to clutch at if there's no debate. And there isn't. There's only the Earth measurements you all use. Like, quote, I'll give you a flat Earth for that, end quote, when referencing perspective. Or, quote, we don't only measure Earth flat, end quote, after measuring Earth flat 1,000 times. Yeah? That's what you've got. There's no debate anymore. There's just the flat Earth measurements. And that's all there ever was.
Because without the argument, without the conflict, the neighbor...
There's no fence anymore, Nathan, either. There's no fence to sit on to say, I got to look at all the information from both sides. There is no fence. There never was a fence.
Exactly.
It's just measurements.
Yeah, you need the same measurements we do. You rely on them. It's called the rock and the hard place. You either accept how Earth is measured flat for your belief in a ball, or you don't. You can relinquish your own belief if you relinquish the measurements and they're all flat.
Talking about the sky altogether. And you know what happened? The neighbor became furious. Because without the argument, without the conflict, the neighbor had to face something terrifying, the possibility that he might be wrong. This is what happens when you stop explaining yourself to people trapped in illusion.
They have to face their own rhetoric. Like, I'll give you a flat Earth for that. Seems like it's part of a debate and a discussion, unless there's a debate going on. Once that stops, all you've got is your own thoughts about how you measure Earth flat. And how, I'll give you a flat Earth that. Who are you going to give it to? If no one's debating with you anymore, it's just you and your own thoughts about how you measure Earth flat. And you do. All of you do. There's no exceptions.
They get angry. They escalate. They accuse you of abandoning.
They accuse you of abusing your kids. Things like that. Like McToon did. You know, when there's a debate and you lose because you've measured Earth flat in Antarctica, allegedly, then you can start going around hurling claims of child abuse in lieu of any argument. Because what are you going to do? Toss out your own elevation angle measurements to the sun for 24 hours? Unless you're Dave McKeegan and too stupid to use a tripod. Then you can lean into the ad homs and the personal attacks, right? Make it about me. Bless. It's because there's no debate.
them of being cold, of not caring. But here's the secret. Their anger is not about you, it's about them. It's about the fact that your silence forces them to look at themselves. And looking at yourself when you've been living in illusion is one of the most uncomfortable things a person can do. So they'd rather you keep talking.
Yep, that's exactly what I'm saying. When I say that they'd have to look at their own skeletons in their own closet and it's terrifying to them, Alan Watts says it far better than I.
Keep explaining. Keep playing your part in their drama. Because as long as you're engaged, they don't have to change. But you don't have to play that game anymore.
That's it. We don't have to play that game. Then they have to look in the closet and see that there's some guy that's been banging your wife.
You can step back. You can be quiet. You can...
Or you could just enjoy watching him do it. I mean, that's another way of looking at these things.
let them have their version of reality without feeling the need to correct it. This is not indifference. This is wisdom. This is
cuckery.
Understanding that some battles are not yours to fight.
Sorry, Nick, I was just going to... Yeah. This is why it's good that you're doing the videos like you're doing now, getting the PhDs on and the, the experienced pilots and surveyors. We're not fighting it, and we're just pointing out this is how things are done. This is how professionals are using equipment to measure Earth flat. This is how pilots are remaining in straight and level flight. This is how PhDs are showing you how an elevation angle works using the sun and a stick stuck into the ground, measuring horizontal shadows. So we're not actually having to, fight, shout and scream. We're just showing you by other means how things are true and factual.
Indeed.
Now here's where it gets interesting. When you stop explaining yourself, something shifts. You begin to conserve your energy. You begin to protect what's sacred, your peace, your clarity, your sense of self. These things are precious. And when you throw them into conversations with people who can't receive them, you're wasting treasure. You're casting pearls before swine, as the saying goes. Not because the people are bad, but because they're not ready, they're not capable of seeing the value in what you're offering.
Yes, I agree. To all of you ballers out there, you're not bad people. You're just not ready. You're just not capable.
And so they trample it, they mock it. They use it against you. Think about the conversations you've had recently, the ones that left you feeling drained, misunderstood, frustrated. Now ask yourself, was the other person actually listening? Or were they waiting for their turn to talk?
They were just waiting for their turn to talk.
Were they trying to understand your perspective?
Perspective? I'll give you a flat earth for that perspective. End quote, conspiracy cats. Not enough popcorn in the world, right?
Or were they simply defending their own? If it's the latter, then you were explaining your...
I don't know if I'd agree with that. I mean, when you say things like, quote, I'll give you a flat earth for that, that's not really you defending your own position. That's conceding how flat earth gets measured, isn't it? Very painful. You're just not ready. You're just not capable.
yourself to someone who was never going to hear you. And the energy you spent was energy you'll never get back.
You'll never get that energy back after telling me how flat earth you'll give me. For your perspective.
Unless you're Jinn, you won't use any energy.
Boundless energy, apparently. Boundless.
There's a certain kind of person who thrives on this dynamic. They love to pull you into endless explanations because it gives them power. The more you explain, the more ammunition they have. They'll take your words, twist them, and throw them back at you in ways you never intended. They'll say, "But you said this," when you said nothing of the sort. They'll interpret your silence as guilt, your patience as weakness, your kindness as manipulation. And no matter what you do, no matter how clearly you speak, they'll find a way to misunderstand you.
Kind of like we say, here we go, here's a PhD's measuring Earth flat with an elevation angle and doing trig with the flat Earth prerequisite ground level that's flat for the trig to function. What's that? It's not the ground? That kind of thing. Yeah, that's right.
because understanding you would require them to change.
Yeah, it'd require them to change their belief in how flat Earth isn't being measured when it's demonstrably being measured flat.
And change is terrifying.
Yeah, very scary stuff, change, for you. Me, I accepted this quite a long time ago, and now, 8, 9 years into the subject, we now realise that we were right all along. That's how Earth is measured, and there's no exceptions. You also measure it flat, and then justify how flat it isn't by saying flat's not flat. Well, why would you need flat not to be flat? Is it because that's how Earth's measured and you want it to be curving? Yeah, that's why. It's very, very energy expended. You're expending a lot of energy doing that. Me, I've given up on expending energy on you bunch of muppets. Why would I bother?
So what do? You
Thought it was
stop.
10 years, Nathan.
It's been 10 years for the last couple of years, though, hasn't it?
Yeah, true.
You stop explaining, you stop defending, you stop trying to make them see. Because the truth is, they already see.
Yeah, they do already see. Do you want an example? I'll give you a flat Earth for that. End quote. Conspiracy cats, now culture cats. Or, quote, we don't only measure Earth flat. So you understand we measure Earth flat then, Simon Dan? Yeah, you just measured Earth flat 1,000 times, haven't you? So they already know. Yeah? That's why they need to create a perception of debate. Because it's very painful when they already know these facts. When they've measured Earth flat. Like, I'll give you a flat Earth for that? Yeah, you don't need to. I'm good. Thanks.
They just don't like what they see. And that's not your problem.
Yeah, it's not my problem. You bunch of muppets that think you're on a ball. It's not my problem no more.
problem is that you've been taking responsibility for their perception.
Exactly. We took it upon ourselves to educate these numpty dimwits about how flat Earth was being measured by them. And it wasn't our responsibility to educate these dumbasses in their religion that required Earth be measured flat. That's not our responsibility. Now, they're just not ready. They're just not capable.
You've been acting as though their misunderstanding is your failure, but it's not. Their misunderstanding is their choice. Let me tell you what happens when you embrace silence. First, you reclaim your power. When you stop giving explanations, you stop giving away your authority. You stop acting as though you need their approval, their validation, their understanding.
That's Wandek's point. Yeah, we don't need your validation, your approval. You've been bundled into a race with us by the powers that should not be, algorithmically putting us in the same pond. But you're not necessary. There's plenty of people out there who measure Earth flat without pouring scorn on us and claiming that we're abusing our kids.
You simply are, and there's something incredibly powerful about that. It's the power of a person who no longer needs to defend their existence. The power of someone who knows their worth is not determined by whether others can see it. Second, you create space. Space for truth to emerge on its own. Space for the other person to sit with their own thoughts without your constant input.
Yeah, I agree.
I gotta agree with that. They created space.
Yes, length, breadth and depth for them to appreciate their own thoughts and feelings about how, well, maybe I could give you a flat Earth for that. Or about how we don't only measure Earth flat. Their thoughts and feelings can be pondered of their own volition without us having to force upon them that which they already know they're just not quite ready for.
Space for God, or the universe, or whatever you want to call that deeper intelligence, to work. When you're always talking, always explaining, you fill up all the space. But when you're silent, something else can enter, and often that something else is far more effective than anything you could have said. Third, you begin to discern. You begin to see who is genuinely interested in understanding you and who is simply interested in the drama.
Yeah, that's it. The people that we formerly debated with were all drama queens. They needed the drama to distract away from what they already knew but weren't ready to face.
The people who truly care will accept your silence with grace.
As much as I hate to, as you guys put it, put energy into the guy in the chat, formerly known as Ranty, now known as Auditing the Absurd, who I wish every success as a YouTuber to. That's what he needs to do. He can't cope with Earth being measured flat, so he needs to focus on the drama, the fantastic drama that there isn't enough popcorn in the world for, end quote, conspiracy cats. The fantastic ending my book will have. The story of betrayal that everybody wants to read about. Yeah, that's drama. Now, don't get me wrong, drama sells. But it's just a distraction from the flat Earth measurements, isn't it? That's what this is really about.
They'll give you space. They'll trust that you have your reasons. But the people who are trapped in illusion will panic. They'll demand explanations. They'll accuse you of being secretive, distant, cold. And in their reaction, they'll reveal exactly why you were right to stop explaining in the first place. Now let's talk about what silence is not. Silence is not avoidance.
I think that's, so I might have got that wrong, but that sounds a little bit like what we were talking about yesterday about the pizza and the elevation angles from Eratosthenes. You give them enough time and they're actually telling you it's measured flat. You know what I mean? I don't know if he's saying that, but that sort of jumped into my head when he was saying that.
Yeah, given enough time, they'll start recognising how flat Earth must be measured for them to create a ball to put in orbital motion by way of the pizza pie pancake derived from elevation angles to Polaris, with an equator that's a minimum elevation angle off a flat plane. Once they appreciate how flat it is, then they're finding their own way. We don't need to guide them, is what Alan Watts is saying. They'll find their own way. And in other examples, he describes your being as like being water flowing around rocks. You're not trying to push the rocks out of the way, you just flow around them. But with enough time, you wear the rocks down as the water flows over them.
It's not running away from difficult conversations or refusing to communicate when communication is genuinely needed.
Yeah. Communication being genuinely needed is me communicating the facts in this matter. Earth's measured flat by everyone, always and without exception. So what he's saying is, we don't need to be silent. We just don't need to expel our energy on numpties that aren't ready for this fact, that they probably already know, just can't cope with. We don't need to waste our energy on you. Doesn't mean we'll be silent about it. I'll still be here spitting facts about how Earth's measured flat, regardless of whether or not it's received well by our so-called opponents.
Silence is discernment. It's knowing when words will help and when they'll only make things worse. It's recognizing that some people are not ready for your truth, and that's okay. You don't need everyone to be ready. You just need to be wise enough not to waste your pearls on those who can't appreciate them. Silence is also not punishment. It's not a way of getting back at someone or making them feel bad. It's simply a boundary, a way of saying, I will not participate in this particular dance anymore. Because the dance of endless explanation is exhausting. It keeps you small. It keeps you stuck.
Yeah,
and it keeps
I agree. It's like that's going on, like, you know, I've done it. How many times have you just tried to explain the elevation angle at sea level, and there's 2 points along the horizontal, one's the GP, one's the observer, and across that there's a dip, and then they'll still say, well, no, you're not taking dip into account, or it's not actually happening on the surface of Earth, and you've got to explain it again, and I've done this, explain it, and why aren't they seeing what I'm saying? Why can't they understand this sea level horizontal line, 5,400 miles between Polaris and the maximum you can get the elevation angle? Yeah, I've been there.
Not the ground.
Yeah, why have that dance where they can just tell you it's not the ground that we're measuring the ground with? It's a stupid dance that we don't need to engage ourselves with.
The other person's stuck too, because they never have to face their own illusions, as long as you're there to argue with them.
Yep, that's me telling conspiracy cats, why are you clutching at straws? As long as I'm here arguing and debating about this, you can believe that your side might be true. The second we stop, they have to face the awful truth. What's the awful truth? Well, the awful truth is I'll give you a flat Earth for that perspective that I'm measuring with respect to Earth's surface. Yeah, you will. I don't have to say anything, do I? No need to engage in the dance anymore.
Here's the thing about illusion. It's comfortable. It's familiar. People build entire identities around their illusions. They construct elaborate mental frameworks to support them. And when you come along with your truth, your clarity, your different perspective, you're threatening the entire structure.
Different what? Perspective? I'll give you a flat earth for that.
You're asking them to tear down what they've spent years building. And most people won't do that.
No, they've heavily invested, like we said right at the beginning of this live stream when covering this video. The investment mentally is high, and they don't want to give that up, right? Why should we tell them to? Fine, keep your ball belief. That's all right. As long as you understand and appreciate that, I'll give you a flat earth for that belief when measuring Earth as a flat planar surface, as it is always measured.
Defend their illusion with everything they have. They'll fight you, blame you, vilify you, anything to keep their world intact. And you know what? That's their right. They have every right to live in whatever reality they choose.
Yeah, bless your little cotton socks. You can believe you're on a ball as much as you like. I mean, obviously, eventually, if you study it enough, you'll realise how flat Earth must be measured for you to retain that belief. But you can have it. I'll give you that belief in a ball after measuring Earth flat to achieve it. I'll give you it. You're welcome to your belief in a ball Earth. I know Earth's measured flat for you to create that belief, but you're welcome to it. You can have it. You have my permission.
But you have a right too. You have the right to stop exhausting yourself trying to change their mind. You have the right to walk away from conversations that go nowhere. You have the right to protect your energy, your peace, your sanity. And you exercise that right through silence, through the simple, powerful act of not engaging. There's an old saying that goes something like this: never argue with a fool. Onlookers may not be able to tell the difference. But I'd take it a step further.
Yeah, that's very poignant. Go ahead, whoever that was.
I was just laughing at that. It was a good, I like that.
But that's the main reason for the debate. Onlookers might not be able to tell the difference. It doesn't matter how coherently we explain that Earth is measured flat in all circumstances. So long as the debate persists, the onlooker's not going to necessarily invest the mental expenditure on recognising where reality begins and where nonsense based on flat Earth measurements, in the case of the ball, ends. They're not going to do that. So it just sounds like two numpties arguing. So why? Why engage in the dance? Don't expend that energy. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to remain silent. There's obviously points in life where you are best served by pointing out how Earth is measured flat. But it doesn't have to be always. You don't have to tell your dying father about it. You don't have to tell your neighbour about it. You don't have to tell your sister, brother-in-law, etc. about the facts in this matter. Eventually, they'll come to those conclusions of their own volition if they're looking into it. If they're not, if they're just a normie, why ruin their day? They don't need their day ruining. If they've got a tacit acceptance of Earth being a ball, because they might say something like, what difference does it make if it's not? And you can turn around and say, well, it doesn't, because Earth was always being measured flat, even though you've created a ball belief out of it. But again, why ruin their day?
Never explain yourself to someone.
Nathan, does that mean like from now on I no longer have to, if for example walking past two Jehovah's Witnesses in the street with a sign in front of them saying was life created, I don't have to go over there and point out that Earth's measured flat?
Exactly.
I can stop doing that now.
You just walk on by.
That's what I've done in the past.
Why? Keep it to yourself.
Go on, Neil.
Why? You're just going to keep it to yourselves? Boy.
I've got a channel.
You guys
I'm
are
broadcasting this
unfair.
right now. I'm not shying away from it. I'm just saying that I don't have to stop the Jehovah's Witnesses in the street and point out Earth's measured flat.
No, I agree with that. You have to point out. You'd have to point out to them that Jesus is not the Jesus of the Bible.
Okay. You don't have to do that either, but I mean, fine, if you say so.
I mean, I don't know how you're getting on with your lad now, Neil, but you've had like similar conference. You've wasted, not wasted. You've exerted a lot of energy with one of your lads, haven't you? I've not heard you speak about it for a while, but you've been in that situation yourself, haven't you? With your son.
Who has already decided what you are, because no explanation will change their mind. They've made their judgment. They've written their story, and you're wasting your breath trying to edit it. Instead, save your words for those who can hear them. Save your energy for relationships that actually nourish you. Save your truth for people who are hungry for it. Because there are people out there who will understand you without lengthy explanations. There are people who will see you clearly without you having to perform, or prove, or justify. And those are the people worth your time. But what about the others? What about the people trapped in illusion who keep demanding your attention?
Sodom.
Your explanations, your defense. Let them go, not with anger.
Yeah, that's what I said, Sodom.
Or resentment, but with compassion.
Bless your little cotton socks, but sod you.
Let them have their illusion. Let them believe whatever they need to believe, and trust that if they're meant to wake up, they will.
Yeah, you can have your silly bull belief. You're welcome to it. And when you're ready to appreciate how flat Earth must be measured for you to believe in that ball, you'll appreciate how flat Earth will be measured. Full stop. But you're just not ready. Most of you just aren't ready for it, are you? Bless you. You can keep your silly bull belief.
It won't be because you convinced them.
Nah, we're not going to convince them. These people are too heavily invested in their nonsense waffle about Earth being a ball based on flat Earth measurements they want to ignore.
It will be because life itself taught them. And life is a far better teacher than you could ever be. So here's what I'm asking you to do. The next time someone demands an explanation from you, someone who has already decided what you are, what you meant, what you did, pause, take a breath, and ask yourself, will this explanation actually help? Or will it just give them more material to misinterpret?
Yeah, a few people have said that from the comments under the video where I got angry with that guy who came in and said it's not the ground after we spent an hour describing how the ground was being measured flat for Trig. Well, take a breath and just say, get lost. Why are you wasting our time? Because that's all you're doing.
Well, that's what you did with New Moon. You did tell him that.
Yeah, but I expended quite a lot of energy in doing so, didn't I, Neil? And it wasn't necessary.
Yeah, well, because it came off of, the show was great, informative, educational, and he came in and just dropped that nonsense on you. So I understand getting this. Now, next time, we just say, take.
Yeah, well, he's not here to absorb the information. He's here to bullshit about being a flatty and then undermine what we do here.
If it's the latter, stay silent. Let them sit with their assumptions. Let them fill in the blanks however they want. Because their interpretation says far more about them than it does about you. And in that silence, you'll find something extraordinary. You'll find yourself, not the version of yourself that bends and twists to be understood. Not the version that exhausts itself trying to please everyone. But the real you, the you that exists regardless of whether anyone understands or not. The you that doesn't need validation because it knows its own truth. And that version of you is far more powerful than any explanation you could ever give. Stop explaining yourself to people trapped in illusion, not because you're giving up on them, not because you don't care.
Not because Earth isn't measured flat.
But because you finally understand that some people aren't ready to see, and that's okay.
That's okay. We understand you're just not ready to see the flat Earth measurements your bull belief was based on the whole time. You're just not ready for it. And we understand that. One day you'll be ready.
Yeah, but there's a problem with that, Nathan. They're not just individuals. They're people indoctrinating people that they live on a ball and spreading it and trying to continue to spread it. So we can't just ignore it.
Yeah, you can. Won't change how Earth's measured, will it? Them spreading the nonsense waffle of extrapolated calculations after the flat Earth measurements will not change how Earth is measured. When people say to me, what difference does it make? The answer is, it won't make any difference because all measurements always were flat and always will be. So the lie, the religion that the world has been subject to, heliocentrism, is just that. It's just a religion for people to believe in. But nothing changes the actual measurement of Earth's surface. It was, is, and always will be measured flat by everyone without exception. So the, in my opinion, short-lived religion of heliocentrism is just that, short-lived. It can't go on forever because it's not true to the reality of what we measure. To create it, we had to measure Earth flat. We'll still measure Earth flat after heliocentrism's long been dissolved. So why bother pouring your energy into it? If people want to take solace in that religious belief, let them. That's what Alan Watts is saying. And I wholeheartedly agree. They're just not ready for it.
Let them have their blindness. Let them have their confusion. Let them have their version of you. Because the real you, the one that knows, the one that sees, the one that simply is.
The one that recognises how flat Earth is measured always and without exception.
Doesn't need their approval.
No, neither do the measurements. The measurements aren't in requirement of people approving it. That's what I was trying to explain to Jin when he incorrectly phrased that the jury would be out. No, your opinion on right or wrong is irrelevant to how Earth will be measured after you've made the decision that it's wrong. Well, go out and measure Earth and it'll still be flat.
Your peace is more valuable than their understanding. Your energy is more precious than their acceptance. Your truth is more important than their opinion.
You hear that, Neil? He's talking to you.
Remember that. Hold on to that. And the next time you feel that familiar urge to explain, to defend, to justify, just stop. Be still. Be quiet. Be free. Because silence, my friend, is not the absence of communication. It's the presence of wisdom. And wisdom knows when to speak and when to simply let things be.
A wise man once said nothing, the old saying goes.
But then what are we doing a YouTube channel for? Why are we coming on every day? Huh? Little contradiction here.
No, got bills to pay.
We all know the Earth is always going to be continually measured flat. We understand that. Nobody's challenging that other than the other people. I understand that. But people got to be made aware. I mean, you got to help the people that are thinking.
I agree, Neil. I think that video, you know, I don't think, I agree with exactly what you're saying. None of us are, and Nathan's already said it, none of us are going to say, well, we're not going to stop talking the truth. We're still going to be talking about flat Earth measurements every day, bringing videos up and telling people about it. I think the main thing to take out of that is when you've got the idiots who are telling you horizontal's curved, how much time you give them, you know.
Oh, yeah, you cut them off right at the knees.
I think that's what I've taken from this. That the main thing is, you know, you can go on, like Nathan admittedly did the other day with that moon guy. You know, we could have just said, are you denying that the ground is horizontal from the PhD example? And if he says, well, yeah, it's good. But once you get to that situation, you're fighting a losing battle. So then at that point, it's just like, instead of shouting and raging and giving energy, say, well, I'm afraid you're going to have to go on mute. We're not prepared to talk to you. You know, you can't talk logically or honestly or look at the facts in front of your face.
I agree with that because we dealt with him many times before. That's it. We shouldn't even waste a single breath on him.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean we're wasting energy for those who do have eyes to see and ears to hear. Any comments from Discord before I round out the live show? Feel free, now's your chance. If you've been waiting in the wings to make a comment, feel free. If not, I'm going to round out.
I'd like to say that was an excellent video.
Yeah, I've been watching a whole bunch of them. So on the way to my kids' art class and on the way back, I had my daughter holding my iPad and playing it off my phone's Wi-Fi signal, or whatever you call it, 5G or whatever. And yeah, I'm trying to find one that was most relevant to the show, and that was the one that I found just before yesterday's show, and I shared it in the what's it called, Teams chat. But yeah, I completely agree that almost every word was directly applicable to what we do, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's great
Yeah.
for us.
Excellent.
Yeah, it kind of lines up. I'd like to say something. Thank you on behalf of the group and ourselves, and I hope we pass the audition.
Right, any more for any more? Speak now.
Yeah, just a quickie. I wanted it to end with a quote by George Orwell, a simple one. People don't want to hear the truth because they don't want their illusions destroyed. George Orwell.
Ah, I like it.
Yeah, nice.
From the
Yeah, nice rounding off. That's great.
Indeedy. But with that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So another massive thank you to all of you who liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, hit me up on PayPal, Ko-Fi, all that good stuff. Of course, another massive thank you to today's Discord and G+ panels. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.